Hey, bitches.
Hey, bitches.
Oh my God.
Welcome to Bitches in the Breakroom.
I'm Courtney.
I'm Kate, and we have a very special guest today. Her name is Christine, known on Instagram as Paint and Pixie. A very, I think, one of the most talented hair extension artists that I know. And she also has a hair education platform for hair extensions called More Than the Method.
Yes.
So we're super excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This was a long time coming. Christine's like our first official guest, you know?
Yeah, I guess if you don't want to count little Paigey Poo.
Yeah, well, you know, because like,
Yeah, because like,
we know her,
Paige.
so.
Like, we know Paige.
Yeah.
Like, nothing new there.
Yeah, but we want to get to know Christine a little bit and kind of talk to her about all things hair extensions and kind of pick her brain a little bit.
Yeah, hair extensions, life, perspective.
Yeah.
But just like some quick background from you. Like, just like a brief little intro, maybe. Just,
Brief.
you know. Yeah, well, just like
I'll try.
as much or little as you'd like to share, you know, like what's your sign,
Right.
what's your social security number, you know, like things, just like some light things,
My
you
credit
know.
card after this.
Yes, yes.
Well, I kind of love to start off like the hair story.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
I was that like kitchen beautician for a really long time that was doing my friend's hair. So I was like a scene kid.
Love
I had
it.
like the pink and purple and the craziness, and bleached the shit out of my own head and others for many years before I did it legally.
Hey, we've all been there.
Yeah,
It's
I
fine.
didn't charge for it, so it actually was okay.
So it's fine.
But I kind of just went into hair thinking like I don't know what else I want to do. Like I'm not that great in school anymore. Kind of dove off after middle school.
Yeah.
Being able to like keep up and everything. And my grandparents were super supportive. So I know not everybody has that experience, but my grandma just sat me down one day and she's like, if you do this, you can't do anything different. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, which is so unheard of because I feel like it's the opposite when you
totally.
tell, you know, your parents or whoever
Yes.
that you want to go to hair
Yeah,
school.
especially grandparents, because I mean they're a whole generation above my parents. But no, they were super supportive. I went to Paul Mitchell, which is a whole story because it was right when it opened and it was chaos.
So the Raleigh one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I just kind of floated through. Like I mean, it really was not super passionate. You know what I mean? Like I didn't feel super passionate about it. It was just what I was doing. And it was a creative outlet, so at least I wasn't like working in an office. I don't think I ever could. I'd probably get fired.
Yeah.
Wouldn't ever meet deadlines. But yeah, and then I floated around. I assisted for 2 years
Okay.
before I got on the floor.
Wait, so did you go to hair school right after high school? Like
Yeah,
immediately?
That was a little weird too. So I was in high school and then I switched to homeschool the last 2 years because I was dating somebody who's in homeschool.
Oh, okay.
And I hated school. And so I cheated on all my homeschool homework because of all
Valid.
the
I
answers in
mean,
the
that's
back.
what everyone does.
But I worked a lot. I actually worked full time at Chick-fil-A throughout that time.
Okay.
I've always worked. Like I worked at Eckerd's and Chick-fil-A and PacSun. Like where can I get the free
Yes.
things? Clothes.
Yes.
Discounts?
Where can I catch a
Household
discount?
items.
Yeah.
Bopping around, and then ended up going to cosmetology school after working for full time. But it was only
Okay.
because I was being homeschooled.
Yeah.
At the same time too.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, assisted for 2 years, terrified to be on the floor. I did not want to fuck people's hair up, and I had to be forced essentially to do hair.
It's so intimidating.
Yeah,
I remember the first time I did someone's hair, I was like,
No, literally,
and
like,
I
trembling.
blacked out. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
well, where I started assisting too, or one of the first places, because I assisted at 3 different places, but one of the first places I was supposed to charge like $70 out of the gate for a haircut, which was a lot of fucking money.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot
2
of
years
years
ago.
ago, you know, like that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, it did not work out, but I ended up, the first place I truly was on the floor and doing hair was a weird situation too. It wasn't a commission salon at all. Everyone else was booth rent but me. They brought me in as a first commission artist. You can imagine how much like
Yeah.
side-eyeing
Right.
there is. Like,
Yeah.
I'm getting
Like, who is
clients
this girl?
that used
Yeah.
to be given to them, even though they were booth rent. They were just like a
Yeah.
very well-established salon because it'd been around for so long. It had so many reviews, so they just get call-ins like every single day. So that was odd.
Okay. Yeah, that is a
Very-
weird
Very
situation.
spicy.
Yeah,
In the
very.
break room.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And then hopped around. I went and worked for. But that's really where I started to build up my true career. Like before, when I was on the floor in a different salon, I didn't care. I mean, I was like trying to leave early every day. I would call out when I wasn't sick.
You didn't have like your passion, like you didn't know kind of what you liked, or did you?
I just think I was just in a bad space too. I mean, when you're broke, and we were broke, we were living with multiple roommates. I didn't have a family that, you know, would just like throw us money if we needed it.
Yeah.
And it was just a very depressing place to be in, you know, and
totally.
it was almost like the cycle of being broke and not feeling good about yourself, and just, it was very hard to break that.
Yeah.
But then working in a salon that was more structured, that had more, you know, goals to attain, that really helped me.
Definitely.
Just being kind of like let loose was not helpful.
Yeah, like, okay, here you go.
Yeah,
do your
I'm like,
thing.
okay, so then I'm just not gonna come to work.
Right. Like, okay, if it's up to me, like, yeah.
Right? Don't you just give me the money? And I'll
Right.
just
Like,
not come?
how about you just pay me for like me being hired? You know, like that's enough. Yeah. Like, come on.
Now, was it a hair extension salon at the time, or was it a kind of you do it all?
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't extension only. So,
Okay.
So, had always done extensions.
Yeah.
But we definitely were introduced to them, and we did more and more the longer that I was there.
Okay.
But I actually left that salon saying I'd never do extensions. Like,
Really?
Extension only. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How the tables have
I know.
turned. Oh my God. Okay, so
Wow.
Never say never.
why did you not want to do extensions?
I really respect as a leader now, especially being away from the salon as her employee and then starting my own business. I understand her viewpoint so much more than I did before. But we butted heads. I mean, there was just no other way around it. Like, I don't think I can work for somebody else, you know, and I don't necessarily think that's her problem.
Totally.
that's a me problem.
Yeah.
I like to be in charge, but I'm not in charge of her commission salon.
Right.
You know, it's not my rules to make.
Totally.
I wanted to make them.
Totally.
Because of that, at that time, how I interpreted it in my veil of perception of reality was it was all her fault. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything was her fault, and the extensions were connected to that. You know?
Okay, yeah. You associated the hair extensions with that, yeah.
Yeah, and just like, I don't know, like it is a different clientele. It is a higher maintenance clientele. Definitely. And at the time, like, I also just had a book full of people that I really had a hard time with. Like, I didn't fully love our time together, and it was stressful, and I'm a people pleaser, but then I also was somebody who was like just allowing people to walk all over my boundaries at that point too.
Yeah.
Which then you start to get resentful, right?
Yeah.
And that's my fault for allowing it to happen.
Yeah.
But being on my own, it was all on me. And so I had to kind of like get serious with myself and be like, do you really want to live with a clientele and in a job where like you don't like 30% of the people, and not because they're bad people, but you just don't vibe.
You weren't connecting.
There's always something like sparking negatively.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Instead of it being like you're making each other better
Yes,
while they're in your
right.
chair. So whittled my, you know, clientele down to the people that I really loved, and then COVID happened. And I had a baby. So my daughter was 4 months old when we went into shutdown.
Oh my
into
God.
lockdown. Which actually was a blessing in disguise, because I would have never gotten that time with her through that age. And 4 months is such a
It's such a cute
crying
age.
all the time.
You know, they can like kind of like sit up on their own, do their thing,
just
you
like,
know, just
They're
yes.
happy and they can't move.
Yeah.
They're
Yes.
stationary.
They're stationary, yes.
But I was terrified. I was like, how am I going to provide for her?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it flipped on this switch in me that had never truly been there before, of like, you got to fucking grind, bitch.
Yeah.
You gotta make money for her. Do you want to put her through college?
Yeah.
And so I ended up taking, which was at the time all online.
Okay.
And so
I remember actually speaking with them on the phone, because they had like
They
a
do, like,
crazy
interview.
process. And that was actually during COVID too. I think that's when they kind of started.
Yeah.
Or to blow up or something
I'm
like
gonna
that.
be a hair baby. What is that?
So
I
it's
got
like
you.
a particular
Okay.
method.
Yeah. Okay.
And they did a lot of ad spend.
Yeah.
You know, like you just saw them popping up everywhere.
Everywhere.
Clients asking for them. See, and I think this is why I'm going to punch in one of my core beliefs.
Okay, punch it in.
This is why I think that stylists should be really careful about attaching their name to just one particular brand. And I say that as a brand owner. Like, don't just rely on me. Always continue to get education from other companies, other educators, because we didn't even remember. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And that's not saying that it's bad or they did something. You know what I mean? Like, I have my opinions, but they were on top of the world for a really, really long time. And now I'm sure they still do education, but they're just not the thing anymore.
It's
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
it always transitions.
Fluctuates. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be like, I'm sure for like a color artist, right? Like I'm only going to use, I mean, I don't use just one brand of color, you know? So I just like to like hodgepodge.
around,
And
yeah.
some people will stick with it, but what happens if
Totally.
that brand blows up? What happens if the owner says something fucking stupid?
Totally. Totally.
And
it's
you're
like,
tied, and you're
yeah, oh my
tied
God,
to
yeah.
it so much. Oh yeah, curse it up.
girl, I'm like, motherfucker, shit. Okay. Say whatever the fuck you want, honey. It's a safe space.
But, you know, like, I mean, that can happen.
Mhm.
Like, they can just drive a brand into a ground in
Absolutely.
literally a day or two in this
Yeah.
society.
some higher up says some horrible thing, supports some horrible thing, and now everyone's like, well, I can't
Right,
use
you
them.
find out
Or
somebody's a raging fucking racist.
right,
Well,
right. Well, it's like, well,
anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
You know,
guess
I
I
don't wanna.
guess I'm not using this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopping back to the story, so did that, and I think at that point in my life, I just was so driven to provide for my daughter, and I have a husband. He's helping too, but there was just this innate need to do more, and so I did it, and then I really liked the technical aspect of it, and I liked figuring out the why, and I've always liked teaching people too. Like even if I was head of education for a while, I did balayage classes and stuff that never took off.
Yeah.
Nobody ever came. I did a couple local ones, you know, but
Yeah.
it never went anywhere from there. But then it was like I was doing extensions. I ended up taking another method, and then my profile started to blow up. Like reels became a thing,
Yes.
and my first big reel to go big was so stupid. Mindless.
Isn't that always
That's
the
how it
way?
is.
Mindless.
It's always the ones that
Yeah.
you put the least effort into,
You're
and
like,
it's
oh my
like,
God.
boom.
It was
like,
like,
all
do you
this
want to see
attention.
24 inches?
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's like transitioning.
oh my God, that's so
It
good.
took 5 seconds, and it went, and I was just like looking at it, I'm like,
What is happening?
That
Yeah.
is so good.
but I wrote it, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I have to like continue
Hell
going.
yes. Keep it going.
momentum.
Yeah.
And then started sprinkling in my opinion everywhere, and people seem to like my opinion.
Love it.
So-
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you have the people that don't, but
Right.
Yeah.
but which also helps boost your little reels
Well,
up
the
too.
biggest videos that I have, if I look in the comments, they're arguing. Like people are arguing. With
Oh
me.
yeah,
Dude,
I have a
it's
huge
insane.
argument on my reel right now, and I'm
Yes.
just like, I'm saying
The internet trolls are out of control.
Yeah.
Like they are
Yes.
insane. They
Yeah.
people will start full blown arguments, and it's like, how did we get to this point from
Yeah.
the reel?
Yeah.
Like, how did we get to this point? No
I was
idea.
arguing with people on Krista K's.
Like,
Yeah.
The other day, I was like, "You're dumb."
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah.
you're like, I actually have something to say about this.
Well, it's about pricing, so you know that can
You
get
know-
just like so
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That'll blow up real
People
quick.
thinking, I mean, it's both spectrums, right? It's like
Yes.
some people think they should do no work and they deserve this like outrageous, like the technique and the experience doesn't match the price. And then the opposite end of that is like, that should be 50 cents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right,
You're
right.
like,
Yeah,
So you want me
there's-
to take a loss of
Yes.
$1,000?
Yeah,
Literally.
really. Like,
appointment.
Yeah.
okay, love it.
Yeah.
So you did,
Yes.
and then
Yeah. And then I started to do my own thing. I mean, I
Yeah.
just kept having trouble, you know, and I kept having the same thing pop up. And that was that I was, each method that I've ever been a part of, there's a very specific set of rules that you had to follow. And I'm actually, it's so funny because with certain things, I tend to be a rule breaker. And with certain things, I tend to be, to my detriment, a
Yes.
rule follower.
Yeah.
And with the extensions, it was just beat into our heads, not through just these brands, but just the community at large, that if you didn't rely on somebody else's information that wasn't educated, that you looked up to, you were going to rip people's hair out of their heads, you know?
Yes.
And really the viewpoint of the community at that point too was that, like, you know, when things are going wrong, it's the client as well. And if they do go wrong and it's not the client, then it's your install was incorrect. Like it was just incorrect.
Yeah.
But if you just follow these rules,
Yeah.
none of that will happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm following the rules,
Yeah.
being in the lines,
Yes.
and I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Yes.
I really internalized a lot of it because I'm like, it's me. It has to be me. Like I'm
because they
just-
make it seem like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And of course you have bad days. Like there's absolutely times when you can create damage on somebody,
Totally,
for sure,
totally.
especially if you're not being in the moment. But really a big transition for me was just seeing some people's work that I had really looked up to in the community and seeing the damage on their scalps and being like, it was like Curtain of Oz, you know, coming down. And I was like, what the fuck? Everyone's having these same issues with the same approach. Yeah. And so really I just kind of blew it up in my mind. You know what I mean? I was just like, okay, blow that idea up. Like, you have to do something different. Because really it had become insanity at that point. I mean, I'm doing the same thing over and over, expecting completely different results. And like, it's not working for very specific clients. It worked on specific clients, but it was the same clients every time that were having issues. Yeah. So I just started to play around and really strip away the bullshit of you have to be some sort of fucking savant to create a solution in extensions. Like, I am not a genius, you know? Like, I am dumb at a lot of fucking things. You know?
Aren't we all?
I'm really, really dense in certain, like, very easy things for other people. Yes. Really taking it back to, like, take all of the fluff away. What should you actually do to make this a safe install? And a lot of it was the opposite of what I had been taught. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do that on every client. And that's where it gets really nuanced with extensions. Is like, everyone's so different. I mean, if you were to literally do like a cast of people's heads, like stick them in the thing that like makes the form or whatever, like you would come up with a million different results. It's like almost similar to a fingerprint if you add in your hair follicle pattern, the density, the texture that you have, your scalp elasticity. Like, no one's exactly like you. Yeah. Everyone's slightly different if you're really looking for the differences between them. So I just tried to start creating solutions for the specific person behind my chair.
I love that.
Know? Yeah, I feel like you just started experimenting and didn't accept that it's only one method is like the end all be all kind of thing. Because I actually kind of felt the same way too when I first learned hair extensions. I got certified through 3 different companies, and after that I would stop advertising just one company and I would just say I do hand tied. And then I would just create, and then at one point I was like, I do my own method, because I really kind of did, because I just took a little bit of what I learned everywhere and customized it. Yeah. But I never felt like I did the same thing on everyone. And I feel like that is so like looked down on in the hair extension world.
Yes. And it's so wild, because like, look at the color industry. I mean, it's so interesting to me that it's so opposite. One, you have a lot less gatekeeping with color. Like, people share formulas, people share a lot more than a lot of like extension brands will in terms of education, but the color world is so much further than we are.
Oh my god, yeah.
It's more creative. You
when
can't be
are
creative
like, there's
with
a million ways to do the same thing. Like, there's no one right or wrong, and it's like, why can't it be the same with hair extensions?
Yeah. Well, and to your point, you know, speaking about people trying to fit within the method, I mean, if we want to get sciencey on it, the scientific method, like, the worst thing that you can possibly do when you're going in to research something or look to see what's the best lane to go down or what's the best answer for this, you're not going to say, I have the answer and I'm going to work backwards to prove it. That's the exact wrong way you should go about everything. What you should do is go in with an open mind and try multiple things and say, even if this isn't what I think the answer will be, I want to find the right answer. And I don't know if, I mean, I can't say that I know how everybody created methods. Do you know what I mean? But I think what happens is they create something that works for their clientele, but your clientele is different from my clientele, is different from your clientele. And a lot of times we have like repeating patterns. Yes. You guys probably have women with a little bit more hair getting extensions. Like, they might be younger. You know what I mean? I have 50-year-olds, 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds, and they just have a different density at that age because of hormones and menopause and stuff. Yeah. But they, you know, built a method for their particular clientele, and then they started to make all of this money. This is a hypothesis in my head. It's not, you know.
No, I love it.
I'm not saying it's
conspiracy.
It's my conspiracy. But you start to make all this money. You can make a lot of money in education. You can make a lot of money doing hair and doing extensions too. But that's rolling in, and you want more. And you want more people to sign up for your education. Well, what's the way that we get more people to sign up? By telling everyone that it's going to work for everybody.
Yes. Yeah. So true.
Reality is just like impossible.
Yeah, no one is the same. Something that you post a lot about on your platform that, I mean, I'm a baby stylist. Like, I've been doing it for like maybe it's almost a year. Almost a year. But I had really never considered like scalp health unless I'm visibly seeing like dry scalp or, you know, like any kind of abrasion or like something like that. Like those are like known things. I'm like, okay, yeah. But scalp elasticity, like, I never even considered that in association with their scalp health. Like, I didn't think there was any, like...
correlation.
Yeah, at all. And I'm blown by that. Like, did you is that like part of your extension training, or like where did you start to consider like scalp health?
So I definitely think like all of the methods that I took talked about scalp health in some context.
Yeah.
Like we don't want sores and blood and
totally
like
yes
all that kind of stuff. But nobody was really talking about yeast overgrowth or anything like that. But I was having issues with my own head.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times if something's happening to us, we're going to
it's much more of a priority.
A solution. And what I noticed too, like when I really started to ask my clients questions, like, you know, how often do you go in between shampooing? Do you feel itchy? Do you feel burny? And so many of them was like, oh, as soon as I start to burn, I wash my hair. It's like, not everybody has that answer.
Yeah.
You know? But there is some sort of correlation obviously happening. The hard thing is like hair science is actually bullshit as well.
Totally.
So even like I've been trying to learn more about products and how they work and our misconceptions as hairstylists when we go to sell products, because the companies themselves are telling us one thing, but like maybe that's not the actual science behind it. Moisturizing, hydrating is basically bullshit.
Yes.
Like it's just conditioning agents.
Yes.
That breaks down a whole like portion of our knowledge.
Totally.
You know, as just misinformation.
Literally.
And so one of the things that I saw in the extension industry too is just pushing people to not wash their hair. I mean, I remember when people would make reels be like, go a month.
You know, like it's crazy. Like it's insane.
No. Would we ever not wash any other part of our bodies?
Right. Yeah. Like it's a healthy 2 to 3 times a week is totally fine. Like I think that's like perfectly acceptable.
And some people can go
absolutely.
A week or 2 weeks,
absolutely.
You know? But why would I sacrifice the health of my client's scalp?
Yes.
To increase the health of the extensions.
Totally.
And even then, I don't think people understand like actually going too long in between shampooing your and washing your extensions is bad too, because the hair is just gonna dry as shit.
Yeah.
And if you're just adding oil, you're not actually doing anything to it other than covering it,
right,
and not allowing anything else to penetrate. So I just started seeing, I'm like, okay, I'm reading this stuff that's like maybe not written by hairdressers and extension artists in like hair care science forums and stuff like that. Totally. That's completely contradicting everything that we're telling clients to do, and I really wanted to switch that.
I love that.
And then looking into the research too, like, you know, anybody can look up research papers that have been written. It's a little harder to decipher if you should actually take it as,
of course,
it being truthful, because not every research paper is up to snuff, you know.
For sure.
But a common theme in this research was that there is some sort of correlation between yeast overgrowth and hair loss at a younger age. We just don't know why yet. We don't know what comes first. We don't know if it's just correlated, but it's not causation.
That's so interesting.
But the safest thing to do, because it doesn't harm you, is just to use a zinc shampoo.
Okay. Yeah.
Anybody that you think is suffering from any sort of hair loss, even if it's temporary, just add that in, which is the exact opposite advice of everyone in the hair industry, because they're all like, you can't use any other shampoo but this one.
Totally. Totally. Yeah.
But like, again, am I trying to just keep the extensions healthy?
Right.
Or am I trying to keep the hair we're attaching it to healthy? Because if we're trying to do that and rehab their hair to a certain extent, to maybe have them in less extensions, I'm going to want to take care of the scalp.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's so interesting.
Yeah. It is interesting how you're like considering the scalp. I feel like all the methods that I've been certified in, not once touched on scalp health ever. Like,
that's wild.
Yeah. So it's just interesting because, everything you're saying is true. Like, we focus so much on how can we make the hair extensions last super long. And it's just like, well, what about the thing it's attached to? Like what you were saying. So it makes so much sense. A random question that I just like randomly thought of.
Yes.
I've only seen this 1 or 2 times in the salon. And I don't know, I'm sure you have. You know, there are those people who have finer hair that cannot hold the weight of hair extensions, no matter how many wefts you put on it, where like they'll come in and the whole bead is out and you're just like, this might not be for you. Is that, one, have you seen that? And 2, what is that?
Yeah. So when you say hold bead out, like has it slipped or is it just
like it's like the hair
like ripped?
It's just like literally not strong enough. The scalp, something about it is not strong enough.
Hair and bead attached.
Like, you're just like
like it's like okay.
I mean, definitely there's a couple different things, right? Like I have a client in my chair and she is that client that like I've had an entire bead section rip out, but I have found a way to apply extensions on her that minimizes that. Like I've never had another bead rip out of her head.
Okay.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. It was terrifying too. I was like, what the
It's horrible.
Yeah. But, you know, trying to fit her into a method, that's what happened because she literally, I mean, there's something called loose anagen syndrome, which is like usually more common in kids. Okay. But it's literally like you would just like pull like this and then the hair just comes out. You saw I didn't use a lot of like,
I think I've literally had a nightmare about that happening to me. Like that's actually so scary. Yeah.
But she also has thyroid stuff though. And she just is one of those like I could be sectioning her. And if I put the comb against her scalp too much and like really
hair comes out,
hair will just pop out. So that, you know, there could be a bunch of different things that it is. I'm not a dermatologist, so I don't know.
Totally.
But I had to find solutions for her. And even now, I mean, I had to basically give her like a boot camp, styling boot camp, because a lot of clients they're like, I'm not rough. And then you see them like rip their ponytail.
Really? Like, yeah, you're like, wait a minute.
They're like slamming their purse.
No, it's like when you're
detangling
someone and they're like, I got it. And I'm like, no. You don't got it. You don't got it. Like, girl, we just lightened your hair. Like, we're not doing that. Like, stop.
Yes, exactly. So we had to go through a styling boot camp. But there are specific people, like, you might not even be able to cover their extensions because they're so low density, but there's some different options now, like the mesh integration for people who have trichotillomania.
God, I've seen that. I think that is so interesting. I love that.
It's interesting. Do you have any interest in that? Or
I mean, I probably won't use it behind the chair just because I'm doing so much of the education. I'd rather bring on somebody to teach that to people than me having to. I mean, it's a very hard method to learn from what I've
I would imagine. So and just the grow out blows my mind. I'm like, does it just like,
also, like it does
move around?
So you cannot wash your hair properly.
I know.
Kat and I, she's the ex-head of Bellamy Education. Her name is on Instagram is CatP12. I'm sure a lot of people do if they're extension people, but you know, we were having a Zoom interview and talking about mesh integration, and she was just like, you know, I like it, but also we need more tools for it. And I agree. And that is like, we need like a water pick or something to get in there and wash under the scalp. But at the same time, I also would, you know, if I was somebody working with clients like that or wanted to have those really high risk clients, it's about weighing the pros and cons of a method like that, because somebody with all of their hair missing from the side of their head, like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, right. Like, for sure.
You know, like, and some people just don't want to wear wigs. Some people just don't want to wear unattachable hair.
Absolutely.
Or you know what I mean? You can take it on and off.
Yeah.
So I think there's a place for it. I don't think it's going to, you know, replace what we're doing now. It's way too uncomfortable. I mean, I'm a sensory sensitive person. I could not imagine having it on.
Totally.
I have a hard time with regular extensions because I'm just like, I want them out.
I know. I literally had a row, and as soon as I got the row out, I was like, I can't ever do it again because I love just feeling my entire scalp again. Like,
I hate feeling my scalp.
Really? See, but I miss the extensions. Like, I miss the like
even
hair.
One row does not faze me at all. 2 rows, I can't. I cannot.
It does. It's not uncomfortable while I have them in, but now that I have them out, you've experienced. Oh, baby, my scalp.
I can deal with it while they're in.
Yes,
and I do get like I'm just so sensitive to everything, but I can deal with them when they're in, and then I've had them out for a long time. Yeah, so I'm like,
literally.
Yeah,
I know.
The trick is just don't ever take them out.
Yeah,
you'll never know what you're missing.
Yeah, so valid.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, anyways, I want 2 rows.
But to your point about like people with really fine hair, like, you know, comb line. Have you seen that pop up on Instagram too?
What is it?
Comb line.
No.
It's like COMBLINE, and it's you take like individual hairs like kind of in a bunch, and it's a special adhesive, and you can attach them like here.
Oh my god!
Is it kind of
like the K-tip type?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it kind of like?
No, it's not like K-tip. Because K-tip you're twisting and it's like on, and it's like you have to hide them. No.
This one you don't.
It can be like right up front.
Yeah, you could put it like in your widow's peak.
Wait, I feel like I have seen something on the internet. Like, how do you hairline?
What is it like? How does it say? What do you do?
It's an adhesive. Like, it's a special adhesive. It's just you can't tell.
But you don't have to roll it. You literally just place it on there.
There's a special
and it attaches.
tool that they use to like paint it on and stuff. Like it's an actual like.
I totally have seen this. Now that it's coming to my brain now. Yeah.
Never.
I remember looking at it being like,
so you can see
I feel like I sent you one actually.
No.
Yeah. But that's not meant to replace like.
Didn't watch it.
Right. So it sheds like lash.
Yeah.
Extensions would.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You're constantly replacing the hair. So it's meant to go everywhere where. Other extensions
like the tough spots.
So like if you have, I mean, female pattern hair loss is a real
totally
thing. You see it start in the part usually.
Yes.
You could fill somebody's part with that. Well,
That's
I can't
so nice.
fill a part with a row.
Totally.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's only so much you could do with
Yeah.
rows.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I've been actually like saying for a while, I'm like, I want to bring in another method, but it's just so scary with the adhesives and like not knowing.
Yeah.
I don't know, just like the
effects
reaction.
on people's hair and.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll look into that.
Tapes are really safe too. I know that
hate
people are.
tapes.
I know. Well, when's the last time you used them?
5 years ago.
They've come a long way with the adhesives,
Have they?
Apparently.
Okay.
I also was in the same camp as you. I was like, I never want to do another fucking tape in my life.
Yeah.
However, they're very easy. And so, I mean, I think it's
just
depends on
so
your
time
clientele.
consuming.
Well, yes, I guess.
Well, maybe if the adhesive's better now. I don't know. I remember when I did it last time, I was like, I can't do this. Like, I just
come
can't.
off easier. I'm supposed to get some from INH as a brand that I keep hearing about. Kat told me about them. So I'm going to test out their tapes. I'll let you know how I like them.
I do think they are starting to look a little more natural at the seam.
Oh, yeah.
That I
It
have
looks like
noticed.
actual hair.
But I don't know. Not a big tape girl. But maybe I'll watch your stuff and it'll change your
anything
mind.
with like
Or,
adhesive
for
scares
me. I would wear
me.
tapes. You know what I mean? Like I would wear it's flat.
Yeah.
It can't be itchy. If they're put in right, they're very comfortable.
Yeah.
They just people apply them wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even the way I was taught to put in tapes, now that I know better, I'm like, I would never do that.
Yeah.
You cannot slant them at the hairline.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is that as they're growing out, all of the weight is on that
It's
one little
on that
piece
tiny
up top,
piece.
and
Yeah.
so you're just going to cause breakage. But they're, you know, in certain areas they can be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
You have good density, I'm guessing, naturally.
Yes.
So somebody like you, if you had short hair and you were going longer with weft based, it's going to be hard to give you the density that you need without 5 million trillion rows in your head.
Yeah.
And so where they would come in handy is right at your hairline.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't necessarily do an entire head of tapes.
But fillers, yeah.
Just like here and there to like sprinkle
or like
it
for
in.
me, where like I am like see through. Like
Same.
up around my hairline
Yeah.
is like, and I have a peanut head. Like by the time you get to where you can't see my extensions, we're at the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
A very small area, but maybe the tapes because they're so flat, you know, especially with them looking a little bit more realistic. You could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
you've
like
opened my
love
mind.
the idea. I like how they look.
Yeah.
I've seen. I mean, I've never done them. Period. I don't do extensions.
The color
yet.
blending is probably the best part of it.
Really?
Because you can get an actual like balayage look and you can customize so much
Love
easier
that.
than a row, so much easier than
Yeah.
K-tip. It also looks like it blends with your hair really well usually if it's applied correctly in the right areas because it fans out more than a K-tip. K-tip is that individual, you know, bond, and those are really hard to learn.
God, I feel like that would take forever.
It can. I mean, I have an educator coming to teach on the platform to do micro K-tips. His name's Alex.
Okay.
I'm like, can you do my head as the model?
Yeah,
like literally.
Try me. You're like, I'm in there.
I want to experience really well done K-tips. I've
Absolutely.
had them, but they just weren't. We didn't know what we were doing.
Totally.
When they were put in my head.
Totally.
But when they're done right, they look fucking crazy.
Yeah, and you can go longer. It's not like you have to go 6 to 8 weeks, right? You can go
3 months,
12. Yeah,
yeah. So I could go probably for me too, taking care of them myself as a hairdresser. I might be able to get 4,
which is incredible.
and then just have my husband knows how to remove them. He used to work with me at a salon,
Yeah.
so he can remove my.
I think
K-tips
your
for me.
husband's like kind of a hairstylist at this point. He knows a lot. He does a lot.
I think like anyone who's
He cut my
married to a
daughter's hair.
hairstylist, they just end up like knowing random shit about like hair. Like I
Oh,
can do
yeah.
a root touch up. Like I can take out your extensions. You know,
no, it's
like,
crazy. Like the things
so
that they
funny.
know compared
Yes.
to like other men.
It's so
It's
funny.
true.
I love
God.
it.
I love when Casey talks hair to me. I'm just like, oh my god. I don't know. I love it.
I love when men are like, I like the like lighter pieces in your hair.
Oh
Like,
yeah,
I'm
no.
like,
Casey will be like, "I love your money piece." He said that to like Laura or someone the other day. I was like, "Oh my god."
He's like
He
trying to flex
knows.
his knowledge.
Yeah. He knows what he's talking about.
That
like
is
that.
so
Cute.
funny. I love it.
What would you say is the hardest part about hair extensions for you?
for me, not like the average stylist, but for me.
I think for you, yeah.
I think paying attention the way that I should. I mean, I have ADHD, so
same girl.
I'm medicated.
Yeah, you know, you know,
and it helps, but
Totally.
I still can be like,
yes, yes, like something is a little like loud around you, and then you're like,
yes,
yeah,
looking around,
yeah, and sometimes I'll also just get really wrapped up in conversation,
yes,
which is so fun.
Totally.
But then I'm like, focus.
Yes.
Yes. I need to be in this, and so just reminding myself I have to be present in what I'm doing with extensions, because just phoning it in is always when I have troubles.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's not that you can't get into a flow state. Of course you can. And of course certain things become like muscle memory and habit, but I have to be in it mentally.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think that's, for me, the hardest thing about doing hair extensions is like not getting too comfortable in like what I always do. And I try to like, if I have a new client especially, I'm like, let me try something different, because it's so easy to be like, okay, like I do this all the time kind of thing. So what's the hardest thing that people come to you for then?
I think it's not even technique based. I mean, it depends on at what juncture in their learning process they're coming to me. Like, let's say this is a stylist who's taken multiple methods. Like, they need to trust themselves. And so it's a mental barrier more than a physical or technical one. And it's one where they have to start having a kinder inner monologue, usually. And also just trusting their fucking eyeballs, you know, because we also hear so much from certain stylists and brands and everyone who's like, only this is how you get a healthy result. But then your eyes see 10 different grow outs that day on Instagram that are the opposite of what they told you. And you're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yes.
It's like we're all gaslighting each other.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, if I can find a ton of, you know, educators who do K-tips and tapes and beaded rows and comb line, and like there's people doing amazing work within all of those methods on their certain clienteles who fit the best type of person to put in that method.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And so just having them understand that it's not about necessarily like having a black and white right or wrong, but a understanding fully, like a full comprehension of cause and effect.
Definitely.
It's not about yes or no. It's about why and who should I utilize this technique on and who should I completely stay away from.
Yeah.
Getting close to their head with this.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And then if they're brand new, so much of it is getting used to using the implements and tools. Like somebody who's never done extensions before, picking up a looper. It's
Can't wait for you to start. Court's gonna start extensions soon.
I started playing with them when I was still in hair school.
Yeah.
I would like do the mannequins in the back.
She fixed my corner the other day.
Yeah, I was like, I think I could do an install now, you know?
Yeah, she's like, I'm certified, basically.
Yeah, you know, I like literally walked over to my client that I had that day and I was like, yeah, so that one row that you were looking for might be coming sooner than you thought. Like
all over a corner fix.
All over a corner fix. I'm like, yeah, so you know, I think I can help you out now. Like love that.
So I kind of want to wrap with talking about your education platform.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's very many solely based on hair extensions. So I don't know, I guess tell us a little bit about it and like why you felt the need to start that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to start something online because not everybody can travel. And there are a ton of stylists that I was getting messages from Australia, from the UK, from the Netherlands, and all of them are looking for good extension education, but there's not always the ability to actually participate. And not only is there a barrier in flying, right, or having an educator come to you when you're outside of the country, but also there's a barrier in cost because as expensive as things are here, the conversion rate for people living outside of the US is insanity. I mean, it is sometimes like if I'm selling $1,000 class, it could be $400 more. That's a big difference for people, you know, especially if they're already kind of pressing it to be able to afford something. And so with the online, obviously more people can access that. And then I also wanted to do something that wasn't going to cost $5,000 up front. We do have a subscription that's like our biggest package that is in the thousands, but you don't have to purchase that.
Definitely.
Or you could do a monthly. And then there's one much lower that's like a newbie plan, because I just feel like I mean, everybody has a different, thought process of should it be expensive, should it not be expensive? But at the end of the day, I'm an educator. And that means that for me, what education means to me is that I want to reach more people, not less.
I love that.
Because I want everybody to have the ability to give a good install, even if they're not at a point in their career where they can spend thousands and thousands of dollars to do so. It's also online.
Yeah.
So like, I'm not going to charge the same price as somebody would for an in-person class for my lowest tier.
Totally.
Because I can reach hundreds or thousands of people at once.
Yes.
So it just felt fair to me also to not, just go in with this super high price point.
For sure.
And then I also feel like I'm just kind of good. Like I was trying to find a way, what am I good at that I can also share? I feel like I'm just really good at educating online. And it's a very different process than educating in person. I love educating in person, but it's also very draining.
Yeah.
Online, I don't feel that way, but I also feel I can explain things in a way where people get it online, even if they're not in person.
Yeah. And I feel like, because I'm on your education platform as a member, and it is the way that you articulate your thoughts, I think is so important for especially new stylists, because I don't want to say you dumb it down, but you say it in a way where it just makes sense. You're not trying to sound super smart or like make it harder than what it is. You're like, this is why I'm doing this, and like that's it, point blank, period. So I think I don't know, I like the way that you articulate, and I agree with online education. It is less draining for a hairstylist to teach on, just because you can take a break and like look at it and be like, okay, wait, I didn't touch on this, let me add that. I feel like you get more out of online education in my opinion.
Well, and two, I think the conceptualization of ideas is easier, because in person I might get rambly,
Totally.
In person I might veer off, and maybe I had this idea to say it a certain way, but then I didn't get it. But I have hours of education I'll never release, because I'm like, ooh, I like where I was going with this,
right,
but this needs to be whittled down into a much more palatable, explanation. I like this, but I need to make this easier to understand, so it's not confusing because I'm jumping around, because that's how my thought process is in person when you're teaching it.
Definitely.
So I think it's really great for getting like foundational knowledge. And then there's always the people that benefit. Like, it depends on how you learn too, right? Like I like learning from YouTube. I like learning from videos, and so
you can replay,
you can pause,
you can
take it in,
take
for a
notes,
second.
like
so true.
Yes, but then there's some stylists where they just will not fully get it. It's not going to click until they come to an in-person class. So that's why I offer those two, just much less frequently.
I love that.
If I did it too much, I would die.
Totally.
No, I think educating is a beast. I feel like so many people are like, you need to teach, and I'm just like, I don't think that's my passion. Like I like teaching like the girls here and stuff like that, but it's a lot. It is a lot, and I praise you for it, because you put in the work, and you're the quality and just everything that you're teaching is so clean and crisp and just so beneficial, and no one else is doing it right now with hair extensions. So kudos to you. Thanks. You're killing it with that.
See, I look up to you with like the commission salon, because like I could never, my brain wouldn't work in that capacity. I'm a terrible delegator, because I'm just gonna do everything.
Yes.
Like, I do it right.
I still struggle with that a little bit, but I think it's all about having people you trust, and then it all pans out. Lastly, what is advice you would give hairstylists new to the hair extension world? Like, what's something that you would tell them that they need to know?
I would say, and I say this as somebody who owns an online platform, go to an in-person class first.
Okay.
Really, or have some sort of tandem situation where you're doing both, because brand new, you need somebody to take your hands and move them
literally
around.
Show you how to move your hands.
Like we have a newbie subscription, but I just, if you've never done them before, like, please don't do that.
But is your online platform, it's not a certification.
No. It's just there to help. But I also get a little worried, like, don't dive into a paying client and just watch 5 minutes of videos and think that,
and they're like, I know what I'm doing.
Right. Yeah. And we all get that feeling, like our heads get a little big when we do something well, but there's so much nuance to it that I think having it in person is helpful. But I would also say I would also say it's just so important to work on more than just your install skills. You know, it is not just about being technically proficient, and this is with every part of the hair industry. You could be an amazing foliage master, but if you're a bitch to your clients, you know, and you're just a terrible business person, like you're not going to be successful.
Absolutely.
Or it's going to take you way longer to see success because you're going to have to find the clientele that's going to put up with your ass, you know?
Yeah, you have to have people skills first.
Yeah, you can be the best at hair extensions, and if your attitude isn't there, not going to happen.
Like, I am not, I mean, I know that people exalt the people that they look up to, but like I am under no delusion that I'm the best extension artist. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not. There's people that have cleaner work. There's people that have
you're up there
better thank you better ideas than me, but it's just so important to allow yourself also to learn from a bunch of different people and work on yourself, because you know, have you ever met a hairstylist where you're like, the work isn't like amazing, but they're so successful. You know, and so for anybody that's also worried about their technical proficiency, like, oh, I'm not as good as blah blah blah, it's like, well, actually being a really good person,
that goes a long way.
It goes a really long way.
Definitely. Well, and it's like you can always grow in skill set. Like that's, education's never gonna stop unless you stop, you know. You can always grow in your skills, but like if you're a shitty person, you know, like people aren't gonna want to come back. Like it's just, it's pretty simple.
And I was also say, like, don't complain about your clients too much on Instagram.
Like I can't stand the client slander on Instagram. Like people are posting reels like, clients do this, and like
red flag.
And like I get it, and like I think within the hair community, like we have shit that we put up with, and we talk about it on this podcast a lot, and like I think that's like a safer space to do it. But like posting on your Instagram that your clients are also following you on, talking shit about clients,
advertising yourself,
like I just think like it can rub people the wrong way. I don't know, there's always respectful ways of communicating stuff like that, but like on your platform to like just be like dogging things that clients do, it's like chances are your clients might do one of those things that you're dogging, and now they feel weird about it, and now they feel like like, oh, when clients come in with dirty hair, like it, like now every client that has come in and sat in your chair with dirty hair, now they feel like judged and they feel weird, you know. Like you have to be self-aware.
Well, I think people are looking up to people in the industry who already have clienteles who make those videos, and so it is different. Like if you are like at this level and you're educating and you have all your clients and they think it's funny, and like, okay, like go for it, right? But like when you're building your box,
not the best look,
not the vibe.
You're not going to attract the people that you think you're going to attract. No, with that. You're going to attract people who also might be really judgmental, and kind of catty.
You know?
Unfortunately. So what you were talking about with people like taking what their stylists are saying and feeling judged for it, they don't even have to be the ones that were actually doing those things.
Totally.
You know, we've all been in a situation where like something is being said about somebody else, but we internalize it. Of course. And clients will do that too with our, you know, with our content. So just being really
like careful. You want your clients to feel comfortable when they come and sit in your chair. You don't want them to feel like, is she gonna talk about me on Instagram? You know, is she gonna blast me later? Like it's
I just feel like it's also like an excuse to be able to be passive aggressive instead of just like confronting the situation and creating a boundary. Like if you have a client that came in and they are literally dripping in grease, then you need to have a conversation.
You just need to tell them, hey, going forward, like let's come in with clean hair so that we can get the best results. You know, like instead of dragging them online. For sure.
Wow.
That's do you I want to really quick do a little this or that just to close out the episode. So I'm just gonna spit out like 2 options, and we're all just gonna say what we would do. Okay. So blondes or vivids? Blondes. Yeah. Love it. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Oh my god, guys, are we all the same? Short hair or long? Short.
Long.
Oh,
I'm different. Beach or mountains? I'm gonna say beach.
God, I just don't care for either, to be honest with you. I just literally don't care for.
Do I have to pick one?
The salon? No, I'm just kidding.
my house.
Y'all are insane.
I know.
I would just say like traveling to a different country, but that's not a this or that. So
Yeah.
I
Hey.
guess beach, because I would
Yeah.
go somewhere more tropical than somewhere
Right.
more cold.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll
Love
say
it.
beach. Whatever.
Okay. Warm tones or cool tones?
Warm.
Warm.
Even though I do think cool is making a little bit of a comeback.
Yeah.
I think people are just over the trends right now,
Yes.
and I think that's a big thing online. They're like, oh, like the hell with that.
Yeah.
So okay, yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. Summer or winter?
Summer.
Summer.
Winter. I'm thriving right now.
Ugh.
I know.
Okay. Bouncy blowout or beach waves?
Beach waves.
Beach waves.
Oh, bouncy blowout.
No. Okay. Early morning girly or night owl? I'm an early morning girl.
How early are we talking?
Right. What's
Like,
early?
Early to me is 7 a.m. I'm not.
Oh, I was thinking like 6, but yeah, like
Okay, I'll be early.
I'm at night.
yeah,
Yeah.
night owl. Okay, cool. That's all I have. I just wanted to
I love
run through
it.
really quick, super fast with the cool tones coming back.
Okay.
I don't think cool tones are coming back. I think neutral, beigey is in.
Okay.
I'm not seeing a lot of like cool. I'm
No,
seeing a lot
but
of like neutral.
Yeah.
Creamy.
Beigey is,
Yeah,
is what I'm seeing a lot.
Yeah.
Which is
Beigey's everywhere.
beige is such a weird tone because it's
I
like
know.
cool and warm at the
It's
same
cool
time.
and I know.
But okay, we'll see.
Yeah.
Now you're gonna
Okay.
get someone who wants like ashy gray hair tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've
like me.
Yeah.
I have never had
What?
someone want like silver type.
Yes, you
hair.
have.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
No, I haven't.
Remember?
Remember. It's a foreboding,
Yeah.
remember?
Yeah. Or maybe she was removing it, but she still wanted it cool. She just didn't want it gray.
No, she wanted. No,
Okay, forget
I know
it.
who you're talking
Okay,
about.
anyway.
She didn't want it.
Well,
She didn't know what
Christine,
she wanted.
thank you so much for coming on the pod today. What a great conversation. I feel like
Yeah.
we could have just kept going.
Kept
but
chatting it up. What's your Instagram for the people?
Paint and Pixie
Paint and
is my
Pixie.
personal, and then More Than a Method. is the
Love.
business.
yeah,
Love
you
it.
guys, seriously, her online platform, it is so worth it. If you want continuing education on your hair extensions, check it out. I think
Love it.
after you learn like
Fuck yeah.
the foundation, you should definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
My Instagram is Caitlyn Command Hair.
Courtney Cab Hair. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Bitches in the Breakroom. If you're listening on Spotify, give us a 5-star.
Yeah. And thank you guys for listening. Love you.
Love you. Mwah.